that I hadn't seen before.
What type of truck?
It was kind of almost steel gray. Don't ask me.
Okay.
Year, but that was late afternoon. The dad has a great big truck and it's gray. But this is unusual, very quiet.
In the quiet suburb of Frederick, Colorado, security cameras captured something that would later become crucial evidence in one of America's most shocking family annihilation cases. A figure emerges from a house in the early morning darkness, moving toward a truck that neighbors had never seen before. Who was this person? And why were they there on the morning an entire family disappeared? What if I told you that behind the perfect family photos and social media posts of happiness lay a web of deception so complex that even seasoned investigators were stunned by its depths? What if I told you that the man who pleaded on national television for his family's safe return had already buried their bodies in remote oil fields? And what if I told you that the woman he was having an affair with may have known far more about his deadly plans than she ever admitted? This is the story of Chris Watts, Shannon Watts, and their daughters Bella and Celeste. A story where love turned to manipulation, where trust became betrayal, and where a seemingly devoted father became a family destroyer. But this isn't just another true crime story you've heard before. This is about the evidence that was never fully explored, the questions that remain unanswered, and the ongoing developments that continue to shock the world 7 years later. If you're fascinated by true crime cases that reveal the darkest depths of human nature, and you want to uncover the hidden details that others miss, you're in the right place. Dark Trail Files brings you the most comprehensive investigations into cases that continue to evolve. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're about to take you deeper into this case than you've ever gone before. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we've uncovered.
Hey guys, Black Label got me dancing in the kitchen while I'm cooking dinner. Feeling amazing. Day 2. Alexa, turn it down. Day 2. Alexa, turn it down. Alexa, turn it down. So, Day 2 of Black Label 2.0. Dancing while I'm cooking dinner. I made homemade meatloaf, homemade mashed potatoes, made green beans. I think I'm gonna make some dessert, maybe brownies. Sounds delicious. And yes. Okay, say hi. Oh, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
Cece, say hi everybody.
Everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Yeah.
So, I'm enjoying Black Label 2.0. Like, I thought my Thrive experience couldn't get any better, but got me dancing a foot loose while cooking. So, yeah, everyone's got to experience this. This is amazing. So if you haven't ordered your Black Label 2.0, get it today. I'm gonna go finish. Bye, guys. Hey, Stevie. Hey, Steve. I wasn't calling you Stevie Steve. I was calling Stevie Stevie. All right, bye, guys.
August 2018 seemed like any other month for the Watts family. Shannon, a vivacious sales representative for a health and wellness company, was documenting their seemingly perfect life on social media. In this particular video, we see her and Chris in their kitchen, laughing and playing together. She was 15 weeks pregnant with their third child, a son they planned to name Nico. To the outside world, they appeared to be living the American dream in their 4-bedroom home in Frederick, Colorado. But behind this facade of happiness, Chris Watts was living a double life. While Shannon was away on a business trip in Arizona, Chris had begun an intense affair with Nicole Kessinger, a co-worker at Anadarko Petroleum, where he worked as an oil field operator. What Shannon didn't know was that her husband had already emotionally checked out of their marriage and was making plans that would destroy everything she held dear. The timeline leading up to the murders is crucial to understanding how methodically Chris planned these horrific acts. In the weeks before Shannon's disappearance, Chris had been researching divorce attorneys, looking up the cost of apartments, and even Googling whether people could see if he was having an affair through his phone records. He was planning his exit from a marriage, but something went terribly wrong with those plans.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. You're a hero. Blue and blue. My daddy is love you.
Perhaps no piece of evidence is more heartbreaking than this video of 4-year-old Bella and 3-year-old Celeste singing to their father. "My daddy is a hero," they chant innocently, looking up at him with complete trust and adoration. These are the same little girls who would later fight for their lives as their father, the man they saw as their protector, became their destroyer. The irony of this footage is almost unbearable when you know what happened next. On the morning of August 13th, 2018, Shannon returned home from her business trip at approximately 1:48 a.m. Her friend and colleague Nicole Atkinson had dropped her off after their flight was delayed. What happened in the next few hours would forever change multiple families and shock a nation. According to Chris's eventual confession, he and Shannon had an emotional conversation about their relationship. He told her he didn't love her anymore and wanted a separation. But this conversation quickly escalated into something far more sinister. But here's where Chris's story starts to fall apart. He claimed that after he told Shannon about the affair and his desire for separation, she became angry and strangled their daughters in retaliation, and that he then strangled her in a fit of rage. However, the physical evidence, the timeline, and his own behavior immediately following the murders tell a completely different story. One that investigators would piece together through a combination of forensic evidence, surveillance footage, and his own contradictory statements.
Hi, Stacey. My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together, and we were on the way back from the airport, and she was having issues, and she's pregnant. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning, and I've gone to her house, and her car's there, and stuff like that, but she won't answer the door, she won't answer phone calls, she won't answer text messages, and I'm just really, really concerned. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning, and she didn't go to it, and I don't know what to do. I've called him and talked to him, and he said that she went on a play date with her other 2 daughters, but, like, if she went on a play date, they're both in car seats. Why would she not take her car?
Perfectly understandable. Do you happen to know her address, Nicole?
I'm asking to send it up at her house. It's 2825 Saratoga Trail in Frederick. And then I said, like, Chris, can you just come home and check to make sure she's okay? Because the shoes she wears every single day are right inside her door. And he was like, yeah, I'll be there in 3 minutes. Well, that was 45 minutes ago. And I called him and asked him again, can you please come home? And he's like, I'm 45 minutes out.
Okay, Nicole, I'll go ahead and call in. I just need you, if you could please repeat her address to make sure I have it entered correctly.
2825 Saratoga. It's SARTOGATR.
Okay.
And the thing stands for trail.
Thank you. And can I get a phone number that you're calling me from? Area code first.
970.
Thank you. Okay, Nicole, tell me exactly what happened.
So, we were out of town for work, and we flew in last night. Our flight got delayed, and I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant, and she wasn't feeling well over the weekend, and she was very, like, distraught and out of the sorts because her and her husband are having issues. So she was concerned because she wasn't, like, eating or drinking and stuff like that. So then this morning, I was like, let me know if you need me to take you to your doctor's appointment because you're not feeling well. And I have called and texted. I've come to her house. She's not answering the door. She's not responding to text messages, phone calls. I've had other friends reach out to her. None of us can get her to respond to us. They have 2 little girls that are 3 and 4. I mean, there's no movement in the house whatsoever. And he states that she didn't take them to daycare and was going to go on a play date, but they're both in car seats and her car is here.
What's her name?
It's in the garage. And I'm like, what's the Huh?
What's her name?
Shanann Wasp. It's Watts, W-A-T-T-S.
Do you know her date of birth or how old she might be?
Oh, if you would have asked me that, I would know it.
That's okay. If you just know her approximate age, that you take that too.
He's gonna be in the early 30s.
Bear with me here one moment. When was the last time that you heard from her?
When I dropped her off at her house, I watched her, made sure she got in the house. That was at 2 a.m. It was actually 1:55. I literally lived like 5-10 minutes from her.
And her vehicle is it parked in the garage?
Yes. It's a white Lexus. And I probably, because I was concerned, I know I don't want to get a doctor's office in trouble, but I went to the doctor's office because I've been used in as doctors, and I said, I know you can't give me things because of HIPAA, but can you just tell me if she showed up at her appointment this morning? And the lady was like, no, she did not.
Okay. Is that's unusual behavior for her to not show up to her doctor's appointment?
No.
Okay.
No. Pregnancy, like, she was so excited and then got blindsided from her husband that he wanted to separate a week ago.
And her husband's name is Chris?
Yes, his name is Chris Watts.
And he told you that she went on a play date today with
The girls.
Okay.
Yeah, but the 4-year-old, and she told me last night when we were driving home, she's like, the morning's going to suck because I have to take the girls to daycare tomorrow. And I made the statement, well, you could keep them home with you. And she's like, no, that'd be more exhausting. She's like, I have to get up and take them because I have a doctor's appointment at 9.
Bear with me here one moment. I'm just typing this information in the call here.
And I'm not trying to cause problems more between them. I just want to know she's okay.
Okay. What's her phone number?
No, give me 1 second and I'll look it up for you. It is 910-850-3286.
Okay. And Chris told you that he was on his way.
Yes, I just talked to him. Well, I talked to him here. One of our other friends did via text because I was going to the doctor's office, and she said he would be here in about 30 minutes, and that was at 1:08. And then I called him and said, Chris, I'm at your house. I'm not trying to cause drama or anything. I just need to know your wife's okay. I was like, where are you? And he was like, I'm on I-70. I'm about a half hour to 45 minutes out. And I just said, okay. And then I hung up and called you guys because I'm just worried.
Okay, Nicole, what kind of vehicle are you in right now?
I'm in a white Dodge Dart.
Okay. Alrighty, we do have a call in, Nicole. We'll have an officer come out that way as soon as we can. I would just advise you, to not try to make entry into the house or anything like that until the officers can get there. In the meantime, if you do hear from her, just give us a call back and let us know, okay?
Okay.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
2825 Saratoga Trail of a party who's checking on a friend who's pregnant who's not answering the door.
The unraveling of Chris's carefully constructed lies began with a phone call that would expose everything. Nicole Atkinson, Shanann's friend and business colleague, knew something was wrong when Shannon failed to show up for a scheduled doctor's appointment and wasn't responding to calls or texts. This wasn't like Shannon, who was always punctual and constantly communicating with her friends and business contacts. Nicole's decision to call 911 would be the first domino to fall in exposing one of the most calculated family murders in recent American history. In her call to emergency services, Nicole's genuine concern is evident. She explains that Shanann's car is in the garage, her purse and phone are in the house, but she and the girls are nowhere to be found. She mentions that Shanann had been having marital problems and was supposed to meet with a realtor that day. Most tellingly, she notes that Chris's behavior seems off. He's claiming he doesn't know where his family is, but he doesn't seem nearly as worried as a loving husband and father should be. When officers arrived at the Watts home that afternoon, they found Chris's demeanor immediately suspicious. While he claimed to be concerned about his missing family, his body language and responses didn't match those of a distraught husband and father. He was calm, almost emotionless, and seemed more focused on controlling the narrative than actually finding his family.
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back. And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
Chris Watts tried to pretend he didn't know where his wife and children were, but just by his body language, it is clear he is hiding something and knew more than he was saying.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
Within hours of the 911 call, Chris Watts found himself in front of news cameras, pleading for his family's safe return. Watch his performance carefully. Notice how he struggles to show genuine emotion, how his words seem rehearsed, and how he refers to his family in past tense, even though they were supposedly just missing. I just want them to come back, he says, but his body language tells a different story entirely. This interview would later be dissected by body language experts and criminal psychologists, all noting the same disturbing patterns: lack of genuine emotion, deflection when asked direct questions, and subtle linguistic cues that suggested he already knew his family was never coming home. He mentions loving his family and wanting them back, but he can't maintain eye contact with the camera, and his micro-expressions reveal what appears to be contempt rather than concern. During this same interview, Chris made several statements that would later prove to be outright lies. He claimed he and Shanann had a normal conversation when she got home, that she left with the kids for a friend's house, and that he had no idea where they could be. But investigators were already uncovering evidence that would prove every single one of these statements false. The bodycam footage from the initial police response provides a chilling glimpse into Chris's deceptive behavior before he was officially considered a suspect. In these recordings, we see him interacting with officers in his home, maintaining his story about Shanann leaving voluntarily with the children. But if you watch closely, you can see the signs of deception that experienced investigators immediately picked up on.
Be in the area. So Chris, I might need your help a little bit. Where is, I'm assuming your wife Sherry's in bed with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look in there and then talk to your kids. Does she have any dirty laundry that hasn't been touched by anybody else besides her? Okay. Is any of your laundry in there with it? Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. I just think it's a family. It's gonna happen. How about all your kids doing?
So their laundry would be in the...
And has any of it been touched by you today?
I'll put it in there.
You put it in there?
Yeah.
How about dirty laundry?
This is the dirty laundry here.
Okay. You usually pick it up off the floor and put it in there?
Yep.
Beds? Have you touched their beds today?
I made them.
You made them. Okay. Do you like pick up the pillow, that kind of stuff, or you just like? Let me think here.
Let me see it. Anything that
You think about
nothing I
toys?
could have ever touched at all.
How about actually shoes would be good too? Shoes that maybe you haven't touched since they've worn them? Is there cleaning?
Yeah, they didn't. But sometimes the blankies get put in there.
Okay.
But that's the one she usually uses, the butterfly one.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you touched it today?
Yesterday when I put it on the bed.
Okay. Shoes?
Shoes are downstairs.
Okay. And probably your wife's shoes too.
Okay. Cece's shoes and Bella's shoes on this side.
Okay. What's the most recent picture you remember her wearing?
Probably outside because they were wet from a pool party.
Okay.
Does that still work?
What day was that?
That was on Saturday.
Okay.
Those are two right there.
Is it for the one on the chair?
Call, one's going to be from KOA,
I put
and the
them
other one
on
is
the
going to
drive.
be,
Yeah.
for CIO request, and it's going to be the Denver
And they
Post.
got, I think they got wet, right? They were in there.
He's overly helpful, volunteering information that wasn't asked for, and trying to guide the officer's investigation in specific directions. He suggests they check with Shanann's friends, mentions that she might have gone to a friend's house, and repeatedly emphasizes how unusual this behavior would be for her. But investigators noted that for someone whose family had mysteriously vanished, Chris seemed remarkably composed and in control. What makes this footage even more disturbing is knowing that at this very moment, Shanann's body was lying in a shallow grave at an oilwork site, while Bella and Celeste's bodies were submerged in oil tanks nearby. Chris was literally standing in the house where he had committed these murders just hours earlier, calmly lying to police officers about having no knowledge of what happened to his family. Perhaps one of the most chilling pieces of evidence is this body cam footage showing Chris making and drinking a protein shake while police officers search his home for clues about his missing family. The casual nature of this act, preparing and consuming a workout supplement while his wife and children are officially missing, struck investigators as profoundly inappropriate and suspicious.
So we're just waiting for our sergeant to come over, and we'd like to go through your house. Are you okay with us searching through your house? All right. We'll have you sign a consent form. We just want to see if you left a note or anything inconspicuous, something like that.
All right.
So if you're good with that, we'll have you sign a consent form allowing us to search your house, and we'll wait for our sergeant to get here. But we'll grab that. You don't plan on going anywhere, right?
No, I was just going to walk around the neighborhood just to clear my head.
Which company do you work for?
Anadarko.
What do you do for them?
Operator.
So you work like 7 days a week?
5 and 2, like Monday through Friday. I'm doing 8 and 6 next month.
Okay. So today is Monday?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let us grab that form, and then we'll wait for our supervisor, and then you can either stay here or you can go walk the neighborhood, whatever you'd like. We look through it. All right. Let's go grab that form. We'll be right back with you, okay?
This wasn't the behavior of a distraught husband and father. This was the behavior of someone going through the motions of normal life while hiding an unthinkable secret. The protein shake incident became symbolic of Chris's complete disconnect from the gravity of the situation, or more accurately, his knowledge that there was no real emergency because he knew exactly where his family was. Investigators later revealed that Chris's normal routine and appetite in the hours following the murders was consistent with someone who felt relief rather than anxiety about his family's disappearance. While most people would be too sick with worry to eat or drink anything, Chris was maintaining his workout routine and nutrition schedule as if nothing had happened. But what investigators discovered next would blow the case wide open. Hidden in the family's financial records, phone logs, and digital footprint was evidence of a relationship that had become an obsession. Chris wasn't just having a casual affair. He was completely infatuated with Nicole Kessinger and had been planning a future with her that didn't include his family. But how far did Nicole's knowledge of his plans extend? And what did she know about what Chris was willing to do to be with her? In a moment that perfectly captures the audacity of Chris's deception, Bodycam footage shows him receiving a phone call from Nicole Kessinger, while police officers are actively searching his home for evidence of his missing family. The timing of this call, and Chris's decision to answer it while surrounded by law enforcement, demonstrates either incredible arrogance or a complete disconnect from reality.
A friend or a male friend?
Honestly, I'm not going to put anything by it right now.
All right. Well, we appreciate you letting us go through your house.
No problem. I'm
definitely not in there.
No. Hey, hold on one second. Call you back. Bye.
Was it in the car? So she came out the door then?
Yeah. Chris, I think, what's your name again?
I'm Sergeant Bakes.
Sergeant Bakes.
Good to meet you.
So she doesn't have any family or anyone around here?
Neither of us do. They're all back in North Carolina. We moved here back in 2012. Came out here to visit some friends during Thanksgiving, fell in love with the place, moved out here a few months later.
She have any friends around here?
Just for friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got friends in Frederick, Erie, Aurora, that part of Erie, Broomfield, Parker.
Have you tried to contact any of them?
Oh yeah, we've exhausted every option. The last thing I'm going to do is hospitals. Hotels. There's so many, but...
And no one's heard from her today? Have you checked your bank accounts?
That's another thing I was going to do, because I don't have access through here.
Let's go check those and see if she pulled any cash out, or if there's any strange charges or anything.
Okay.
Can you log?
I can't log in because she does all the finances.
Okay.
So I know her password. I just don't have her user ID. Not sure what she would have used that way. Sorry, my phone's just blowing up there.
No, you're fine. Who do you guys bank through?
USAA and Chase.
Can you call them and see if there's been any activity? Any withdrawals or anything? And then the suitcases that she came home this morning with, which ones were those? Was it
The black one that's sitting right there.
Not the one in the bedroom?
That was from the last trip, or when we just got back a few days ago from North Carolina. She went to Arizona like 2 days later. That was when we just got put back down in the basement.
You guys don't have any stockpiles of cash or anything in the house that she would have had? If she needed cash, she needed to go to the bank to get it?
If there is, I would not know about it. If there was, I didn't know.
You know how much cash she usually carries with her?
It's usually not, maybe like 100.
Your turn signal's on.
It's been on. I may have to turn in a hurry.
During this call, which investigators later obtained records of, Nicole was asking Chris about the news reports she was seeing about his missing family. She would later claim in interrogations that she had no idea Chris was married with children when they began their affair, despite evidence suggesting she had Googled Shanann's name and wedding details weeks before the murders. This phone call represents one of many instances where the official narrative doesn't align with the digital evidence. What makes this call particularly significant is that it occurred while Chris was still maintaining his innocence and claiming to have no knowledge of his family's whereabouts. Yet he was comfortable enough to have a private conversation with his mistress while law enforcement officials were in his home investigating the disappearance of his wife and children. Nicole Kessinger's interrogation reveals a woman who claims to have been completely blindsided by the revelation that Chris was married with children. In these recordings, she portrays herself as an unwitting victim of Chris's deception, someone who was manipulated and used by a man she thought she loved. But careful analysis of her statements reveals numerous inconsistencies and timeline issues that investigators never fully explored.
I don't want anybody to get some of those texts. Like, they have nothing to do with this case, and they're just like...
Between you and Chris?
Yes, they're just...
So, just tell me what you're...
They're just kind of raunchy.
Okay,
I don't need anybody...
Everybody's an adult.
Posted, like,
we're not going to
somewhere.
Post it.
I don't want the newspapers to get that. That's all I want.
The only ones that we would be looking for...
During her interrogation, Nicole claims that Chris told her he was separated and in the process of getting divorced. She says she believed him because he seemed genuine and showed no signs of being a family man. However, digital evidence later revealed that she had Googled Shannon Watts, and man I'm having an affair with says he will leave his wife weeks before the murders, suggesting she knew far more about Chris's family situation than she initially admitted. Perhaps most disturbing are Nicole's statements about Chris's behavior in the days leading up to the murders. She describes him as being excited about their future together, talking about wanting to give her a baby, and making plans for a life that clearly didn't include his existing family. She also mentions that Chris seemed different in the final days before the murders, more intense, more focused on their relationship, and more urgent about moving their relationship forward. In this portion of her interrogation, Nicole discusses her knowledge of Chris's children, and her statements reveal troubling inconsistencies. She claims that Chris rarely talked about Bella and Celeste, and when he did, it was without much emotion or detail. She portrays him as a distant father who seemed unburdened by his parental responsibilities, which contradicted his public image as a devoted dad.
Meet his children?
Nope.
During June and July?
And he didn't ask me to.
Okay.
I mean, not that I didn't want to ever. It was just not now. It's like you're not finalized with your separation, and not only that, we've barely been dating. Like, you can't introduce kids to somebody new in a situation like that. That's something that takes time. I mean, would I have liked to have met them? Of course. That would have been a great honor for me to have somebody introduce their children into my life, but not then. It was something that it was like, okay, well, let's see where we're at in 6 months. Let's see where we're at in a year. And if we're still doing this and you and me are still, happy with where we're at, and you think that this is something that is going to be long-term and is worth bringing your children into the picture, then yes, I would love to meet them. But it's like, not right now.
Nicole's description of Chris's attitude toward his children becomes particularly chilling when viewed through the lens of what happened to them. She describes him as someone who seemed to view his family as an obstacle to his happiness rather than a source of joy and responsibility. This insight into Chris's mindset provides crucial context for understanding how he could commit such unthinkable acts against his own children. What's particularly striking about Nicole's statements regarding the children is her apparent lack of curiosity about them during her relationship with Chris. For someone who claims to have fallen in love with Chris and wanted a future with him, she shows remarkably little interest in the children who would have been part of any legitimate relationship with him. But as investigators dug deeper into the digital evidence, they uncovered something that would change everything. Phone records, internet searches, and deleted messages painted a picture of a relationship that was far more calculated and potentially conspiratorial than either Chris or Nicole initially admitted. What they found would raise questions that remain unanswered to this day about who knew what, when they knew it, and how deep the deception really went. The moment when investigators confronted Chris with his failed polygraph test marked the beginning of the end of his deception. In this footage, we see Chris's carefully constructed facade beginning to crumble as investigators present him with scientific evidence that his body was betraying his lies. The polygraph results showed deception across multiple questions about his family's disappearance and his involvement in their fate.
So, it is completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test.
Okay.
Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. And I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise.
Chris,
I know.
stop. It's time.
They were at the house when I left. They were there.
They weren't there. They didn't leave. They vanished. You know your truck has GPS,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You know that thing pings every 10 seconds?
Yep.
So we will know exactly.
I know.
Chris, you gotta tell us. There's something that happened to these baby girls. We have no doubt you love these girls with all of your heart. I have no doubt. But we make mistakes.
It's okay.
It's what we do with those mistakes that make us who we are. We had a mom in Castle Rock that suffocated both her baby girls. Chrissy took them out of the house with their blankets and their animals. And that's because he cared.
Well, how about this? If we bring in your dad, will you promise me that you'll talk to him?
I'll talk to him.
Don't listen to all anything, or?
And this polygraph failed it. When we had that conversation that morning, it was emotional. It was.
What happened after that?
I don't want to protect her.
What?
I don't want to protect her.
You don't want to protect her?
I don't know what else to say.
What happened? Huh? She hurt him?
Yeah. And then I
What now?
doubt not her.
You hurt her.
What's particularly revealing about Chris's reaction to the polygraph results is his attempt to explain away the findings rather than maintaining his innocence. Instead of expressing outrage or confusion that the test would suggest he was lying, Chris immediately begins trying to rationalize why the results might be wrong. This reaction is consistent with someone who knows they've been caught rather than someone who is genuinely innocent. The polygraph confrontation also reveals the moment when Chris began to realize that his lies weren't working. Up until this point, he had been confident in his ability to deceive investigators and control the narrative. But faced with scientific evidence of his deception, even Chris's sociopathic confidence began to waver. Chris Watts's first court appearance provided the public with their first glimpse of the man who had destroyed his entire family. Gone was the concerned husband from the television interviews, replaced by a man in shackles who could barely make eye contact with anyone in the courtroom. The transformation was stark and disturbing, revealing the true person behind the mask he had worn for so many years.
They are not. With respect to this motion, and does the court want to address Mr. Mercer's concerns about clearing the courtroom, given the sealed nature of this, or may I speak for you?
Well, it was I think it's based on the sealing of the affidavit in support of the warrantless arrest, and so it was your motion to seal. If you think the reasons why you requested the affidavit to be sealed are going to be compromised, we could do this in camera. If you believe it's not, then we can talk about it publicly.
I'm not worried about the compromising nature of the affidavit. I will tell the court and make a record that the prosecution has provided Mr. Mercer with a copy of the affidavit, despite the fact that it was sealed to the public.
I am concerned about this being discussed in a non-in-camera setting. My concerns revolve around the issues I brought up in the objections to expanded media coverage. It's an ongoing investigation at this point. I have concerns about what would be discussed and how that would implicate Mr. Watts' right to a fair trial and his due process right. So my request is that the court seal the court so we can discuss this.
Leave that to the discretion of the court.
It seems to me, based on everything I've heard, that the affidavit is going to be released at some point. It was the prosecution who requested the sealing of the affidavit. They're not concerned about this being compromised, the investigation being compromised. And so I think we can talk about this publicly. Mr. Wright?
And when you say talk about this, are we still talking about D17?
During this hearing, the charges against Chris were read aloud. Multiple counts of first-degree murder, including the death of his unborn son Nico. The weight of these charges seemed to physically affect Chris, who appeared smaller and more vulnerable than he had in any previous footage. This was no longer a man in control of his narrative. This was a man facing the consequences of his actions. The courtroom was filled with Shanann's family members, whose grief and anger were palpable. Their presence served as a stark reminder of the real human cost of Chris's actions. Not just the loss of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste, but the destruction of an entire extended family who had loved and trusted him. The prosecutor's statements at Chris Watts' sentencing hearing provided the most comprehensive public account of his crimes and their impact. Speaking directly to the court and to the families affected by these murders, the prosecutor painted a picture of calculated brutality that shocked even seasoned legal professionals. The details of how Chris murdered his family were presented with the clinical precision required by law, but the emotional impact was devastating.
Your Honor, there are no words to adequately describe the unimaginable tragedy that brings us before this court today. By my comments, I'm not even going to try to express the horror, the pain, or the suffering that the defendant has caused to these families, to this community, and to all who are a part of this investigation. However, I do want to spend a few minutes sharing with the court the details of the crime, as so far you've only had an opportunity to review the affidavit and a few facts here and there that have been offered to the court in the motions and pleadings that have been filed. The questions that have screamed out to anyone who will listen since August 13th of 2018 are why and how. Why did this have to happen? How could a seemingly normal husband and father annihilate his entire family? For what? These are the questions that only one individual in this courtroom or on this planet knows the answers to. I fully expect we will not receive the answers to these questions today, nor will we at any point in the future. I don't expect that he will ever tell the truth about what truly happened or why. Even if he did, there is no rational way that any human being could find those answers acceptable responses to such horrific questions. The best we can do is try to piece together some kind of understanding from the evidence that is available to us. And the evidence tells us this: the defendant coldly and deliberately ended 4 lives. Not in a fit of rage, not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. Shanann was 34 years old. She had married the defendant in November of 2012. Over the weekend leading up to August 13th, she had been at a work conference in Phoenix, Arizona, and returned home in the early morning hours of August 13th. We know that she got home about 1:45 in the morning. The doorbell camera on their home shows her arriving back home from the airport. Shortly thereafter, at least according to the defendant, they had what he referred to as an emotional conversation about the state of their marriage and about what their lives would look like going forward. What was said during that emotional conversation, only he knows. What we do know is that shortly after that, the defendant strangled her to death with his own hands. We know that he slowly took her life the morning of August 13th. We know that this was not done in an uncontrolled, vengeful manner that he tried to describe to agents from CBI and the FBI. If that were the case, you would expect to see vicious, horrible bruising about her neck, shoulders, and face. You would expect to see the hyoid bone in her neck broken. You would expect to see some kind of defensive wounds on his body as she struggled and fought for her own life. None of those are present. The only injuries that were on Shanann's body were one set of finger or bruising, what appeared to be fingernail or finger mark bruising to the right side of her neck. We know that our experts will tell us that it takes 2 to 4 minutes to strangle someone to death manually with their own hands. The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable. Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought as their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters. Why? Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her. Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all. But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless. The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed. In 1 final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In 1 final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations. He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his co-workers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks.
According to the prosecution's presentation, Chris strangled Sean in while she slept, then loaded her body and his 2 living daughters into his work truck. The prosecutor described how Bella and Celeste were then driven to an oil work site where Chris worked, and where he would complete his horrific plan. The girls watched their mother's body being disposed of before Chris murdered them as well, dropping their small bodies into oil tanks where they wouldn't be found. The prosecutor's description of the final moments of Bella and Celeste's lives was particularly heartbreaking. These children, who had sung "My Daddy is a Hero" just days earlier, fought for their lives against the man they trusted most in the world. The prosecutor noted that forensic evidence showed both girls had struggled, with Bella even biting her own tongue in her final moments. But the story doesn't end with Chris's sentencing. In the years since his conviction, new evidence has emerged that raises disturbing questions about what really happened in the days leading up to the murders. Prison letters, phone calls, and ongoing investigations have revealed details that suggest the case may be far more complex than the simple narrative of a man who snapped and killed his family. What investigators have discovered since Chris went to prison will shock you. Even from behind bars, Chris Watts continues to manipulate and deceive. In this recorded phone call with a private investigator, Chris discusses the possibility of his case being reopened and his eventual release from prison. Despite being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, Chris maintains hope that new evidence or legal challenges could somehow free him from his cage.
Hey buddy, how's it going?
Not too bad. Thanks for taking the call.
Yeah, is it just you or is Anna on also?
I'm here too.
All right, cool. All right, so just talk to me. I don't want to be the one monopolizing the conversation. So tell me what you want to know from me, or just tell me what's on your heart.
Well, just going to the law library as much as I have, I see a lot of cases. I've heard a lot of cases around here, guys. I've seen a lot of cases where the DA or the judge have had a lot of misconduct, but the judge has ruled, say, well, it's not egregious enough, or it's not that that wow factor enough to really play in the defendant's favorites. I'm looking at the things that I know. I mean, I've never dealt with the law before, so all this is, I'm winging it in the law library as I am. And, God directed me through little things like, through the poisonous tree, the Brady law, and different cases that, just it pops out of nowhere, but I know what God is putting in front of me. And I see all these things that relate to my case. I just don't know, how to frame this where, when I do this 35C, I've had this paperwork with me for probably a couple months, and I know I only have a year left to appeal some of those Class B and C felonies at a 3-year limit or 2-year limit, and I really want to figure this out where I can do it in the right time frame, but also not rushing anything. And I just want to get out of here. I know that God has a plan for me, and it's to be in prison right now, but not stay here, because He brought me here for a reason. But He also wants me to do something on the outside. I know I just can't sit here and just wait. I know there's waiting, doing nothing, and there's waiting that I'm seeking an action verb. That's what I'm doing. But I also want to know what action to take, because I have no intellect when it comes to the law. But I know He can teach me, and that's what I'm just waiting for. Things that fall into place, I still know how to do it.
I got you. And you don't have the benefit of an attorney that is in your hip pocket, so to speak. Okay, I've got a couple attorneys here I can talk to that can maybe help. Get some good results, get some good advice for you in terms of forms and what to say, things like that. That's not going to be an overnight process for me to, get the results, we want. It's going to take some time, but, I'm not saying overnight, but I am saying maybe several days or a week or so. So let me see what I can do along those lines. Because I know you're in a tough spot, and it's how do you know how to do something when you don't know what it is you need to do? So it's tough. So I get it.
Like a trial by error thing, but I know with the law, it's like, all right, you're gonna run into certain things where the motion's gonna get denied, or like whatever I write down, the judge might think, well, that's not. What you're claiming isn't enough to go back to. You're not warranted a trial. You're not warranted to have this appeal granted. Denied. I was like, well, what do I do then?
Yeah.
And I don't want to get disheartened when that happens. I know it'll probably happen at some point, but not all motions are all appealed or granted right off the bat. That's why I want to make sure I write this the right way. Where when it goes there, they see like, oh well, like, do I put everything down that I know, or just like, I don't want to put everything down so they know everything that I'm on,
Well, okay, let me address a couple things in what you just said. First of all, you live in a closed society now. Every door is shut in your face. You cannot go from one. You go to one wall, you can't go further. You got to turn your left, you can't go any further. So you know what I'm saying? You're in this perpetual. This room with no door, so you cannot get through. You got that? You understand that? What I'm trying to say? So your world is controlled. You hear the word no probably more than you hear the word yes in that system. So one thing you need to be very accustomed to is being denied, being turned down, being told no. You with me?
Yep.
Okay. Now, some people will lose hope very, very quickly because everywhere they turn, every time they talk to someone, they're hearing things they don't want to hear. They're being told no. You can't do this. You can't have that. You can't go here. You can't go there. Whatever legal action you're trying to do.
Attorney calls may be monitored and recorded.
Whatever you're trying to do, you're always being told no. What you can't do is allow yourself to lose hope. Don't take no for an answer.
During this call, Chris demonstrates the same narcissistic personality traits that led to the murders in the first place. He shows no genuine remorse for his actions, instead focusing on his own situation and his desire for freedom. He speaks about his victims, his wife and children, as if they were obstacles that unfortunately had to be removed rather than human beings whose lives he destroyed. What's particularly disturbing about these prison calls is Chris's continued attempts to manipulate the narrative surrounding his crimes. Recent reports indicate that Chris has been writing letters from prison in which he blames other women for his actions and claims to have found religious redemption. These letters reveal a man who still refuses to take full responsibility for his actions and continues to view himself as a victim of circumstances. The ongoing investigation into this case has revealed that there may be more to uncover about the relationship between Chris and Nicole and about what really happened in the days leading up to the murders. Public pressure has led to multiple petitions calling for the case to be reopened and for Nicole Kessinger to be further investigated for her potential role in the crimes. Digital forensics experts have continued to analyze the phone records, internet searches, and deleted messages from both Chris and Nicole, finding patterns in communications that weren't fully explored during the original investigation. Some of these discoveries suggest a level of planning and coordination that goes beyond Chris acting alone in a moment of rage. We return to the footage that opened our investigation. That blurry security camera video showing a figure leaving the Watts home in the early morning hours. While official investigators concluded this was Chris loading his family's bodies into his work truck, enhanced analysis of this footage has raised questions about whether there might have been a second person present that morning.
Truck out here yesterday. In fact, that's why I thought you were here yesterday. Maybe someone complained about that I hadn't seen before.
What type of truck?
It was kind of almost a steel gray. Don't ask me.
Okay.
Here, but that was late afternoon. The dad has a great big truck and it's gray. But you know, this is unusual, very quiet.
The truck in the footage doesn't match the exact specifications of Chris's known work vehicle, and the movement patterns of the figure suggest someone who might have been more familiar with the property layout than Chris should have been if he was acting alone and under stress. These details, while not conclusive, have fueled ongoing speculation about whether Chris had helped that morning. What we know for certain is that this footage captures one of the most evil acts imaginable. A father disposing of his family's bodies like garbage, destroying the lives of the people who loved and trusted him most. Whether he acted alone or had assistance, Chris Watts committed crimes that shocked the world and continue to generate questions 7 years later. The Chris Watts case represents far more than just another family murder. It reveals the terrifying reality that the people closest to us, the ones we trust with our lives and the lives of our children, can harbor unimaginable darkness. Sean Ann, Bella, and Celeste Watts trusted Chris completely, and he used that trust to destroy them in the most brutal way possible. Today, Chris Watts remains in maximum security prison in Wisconsin, serving 5 life sentences plus 84 additional years. He will never leave prison, never again walk free among the society he betrayed so completely. But even from his prison cell, he continues to manipulate, continues to lie, and continues to show no genuine remorse for the lives he destroyed. The impact of his crimes extends far beyond his immediate victims. Shanann's family, her friends, the Frederick community, and countless others who followed this case have been forever changed by Chris's actions. The ripple effects of his evil will continue for generations, as Bella and Celeste will never grow up, never have families of their own, never fulfill the promise that their young lives held. Perhaps most disturbing is the realization that there may be other Chris Watts out there, other seemingly normal family men who harbor dark secrets and deadly intentions. This case serves as a reminder to trust our instincts, to look beyond the facade that people present to the world, and to never assume that we truly know anyone completely. The questions surrounding Nicole Kessinger's role in this case may never be fully answered, but they serve as an important reminder that our actions have consequences far beyond what we might imagine. Whether she was an unwitting victim of Chris's manipulation or a more active participant in his plans, her relationship with Chris Watts contributed to the destruction of an entire family. As we close this investigation, we remember Sean Ann Watts as a devoted mother who loved her children fiercely and worked hard to provide for her family. We remember Bella and Celeste as innocent children whose lives were cut short by the ultimate betrayal of trust. And we remember Nico, the son who never had a chance to be born because of his father's selfishness and evil. The Chris Watts case will continue to generate discussion, analysis, and investigation for years to come. New evidence may emerge, new questions may be raised, and new understanding may develop about what really happened in that house in Frederick, Colorado. But what will never change is the fact that 3 innocent lives were lost, and a 4th was prevented from ever beginning, because one man chose evil over love, selfishness over responsibility, and murder over facing the consequences of his actions. This is Dark Trail Files, where we dig deeper into the cases that shock the world and reveal the darkness that can hide in plain sight. Remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because there are always more secrets to uncover, more questions to ask, and more truth to reveal. Until next time, stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and never forget that evil can wear the most ordinary faces.